The room was silent, not because nobody was there. In fact, the largest medical chamber on Star Station Orion was filled with people. Alien doctors stood around glowing machines. Dragon healers watched from behind glass walls. Scientists stared at floating screens that displayed thousands of numbers every second. Everyone was waiting. Everyone was worried. And everyone was looking at the same thing. A small dragon baby. The hatchling lay on a medical bed in the center of the room. Its silver scales had lost their shine. Its tiny wings barely moved. Its breathing was weak and slow. Every few seconds, one of the machines made a soft warning sound. The dragon was dying. Dr. Varel, one of the most respected healers in the galaxy, looked at the latest scan and lowered his head. "This makes no sense," he whispered. Another doctor looked at him. "What do the results show?" Varel sighed. "The same thing as before." The room became even quieter. No one needed further explanation. They all knew what that meant. The dragon hatchling was getting worse. For 3 days, the best medical experts from 20 different worlds had worked without rest. They had tried everything: ancient dragon healing crystals, advanced alien medicine, genetic repair technology, energy treatments. Nothing worked. The sickness inside the hatchling seemed impossible to stop. And now the dragon had only hours left. The news had already spread across the galaxy. Many people were shocked, not because the dragon was dying, but because this dragon was special, very special. The hatchling was the last known child of an ancient dragon bloodline, a bloodline thought to be almost extinct. If the baby died, a piece of history would die with it. That was why so many important people had gathered on the station, but none of them could help. The dragon's condition continued to get worse. Suddenly, one of the machines beeped louder. Several doctors rushed forward. The dragon's heartbeat was falling again. "No," one healer whispered. The room filled with tension. The hatchling's eyes slowly opened. Everyone froze. For the first time in hours, the baby dragon was awake. Its large golden eyes moved around the room. Dr. Varel quickly stepped closer. "Easy, little one," he said softly. "You need to rest." The dragon did not react. Instead, its eyes continued searching, slowly, carefully, as if it was looking for someone. The doctors exchanged confused looks. "What is it doing?" one scientist asked. Nobody knew. The dragon ignored the healers, ignored the machines, ignored the people surrounding its bed. Its eyes moved from one side of the room to the other, searching, waiting, looking. Then suddenly, it found something. The hatchling stopped moving. Its eyes locked onto a figure standing near the main door. A human. Most people barely noticed him. He was simply a security officer assigned to protect the medical wing. His name was Ethan Ward. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't important. He wasn't even close to the dragon. He stood quietly near the entrance, watching like everyone else. Yet the moment the hatchling saw him, something changed. The dragon's eyes widened. A strange expression appeared on its face. Recognition. Hope. Need. Nobody understood it. The hatchling slowly lifted its head. Several doctors gasped. The movement alone should have been impossible. The baby was too weak. Far too weak. Yet somehow it kept moving. "Ethan," one scientist said, "I think it's looking at you." The human frowned. "Me?" Before anyone could answer, alarm suddenly sounded. The dragon pulled one of the medical tubes from its body. The room exploded into panic. "No." "Stop it. Hold the hatchling down." Doctors rushed forward, but they were too late. The dragon pulled away another tube. Then another. Machines flashed red. Warning lights filled the room. The hatchling slid off the medical bed. Its small body hit the floor. Several healers cried out in horror. The fall alone should have killed it. Yet somehow the tiny dragon kept moving. Slowly, painfully, it began crawling across the floor. Every movement looked like a struggle. Its claws scraped against the metal surface. Its breathing became heavier. Its body shook from weakness. But it refused to stop. The doctors followed behind it, trying to help, trying to stop it. The hatchling ignored them all. It crawled past the greatest healers in the galaxy, past famous scientists, past dragon elders. toward only one person, the human. Ethan stared in complete shock. "What is it doing?" he asked. Nobody answered, because nobody knew. The dragon continued crawling. 1 meter, then another. Its heartbeat dropped lower. Warning alarms screamed throughout the chamber. The baby should have collapsed. It should have died. Yet something kept pushing it forward. Finally, after what felt like forever, the hatchling reached Ethan. The tiny dragon looked up at him. Its golden eyes seemed filled with desperation, as if reaching him was the only thing that mattered. Then the dragon placed one small claw on Ethan's boot. The moment it touched him, everything changed. A flash of golden light exploded across the room. Machines sparked. Screens filled with strange symbols. Several doctors stumbled backward. The station lights flickered. The floor shook beneath their feet. "What was that?" someone shouted. Nobody knew. The golden light spread across the dragon's scales. Ancient patterns began glowing along its body, patterns no one had ever seen before. The medical computers immediately started recording data. Then every screen in the room displayed the same message. Unknown genetic link detected. The doctor stared in disbelief. A genetic link? Between who? Between what? Slowly, every monitor turned toward Ethan. The human looked just as confused as everyone else. "What does that mean?" he asked. No one answered, because at that exact moment, thousands of light years away, deep beneath the surface of the dragon homeworld, an ancient machine suddenly activated. A machine buried for thousands of years. A machine nobody even knew existed. Dust fell from its walls as old systems came back to life. Ancient symbols glowed in the darkness. Then a voice echoed through the forgotten chamber, a voice that had remained silent for ages. Dragon-human bond detected. The machine paused. Then it spoke again. Lost bloodline connection restored. Across the galaxy, hidden systems began waking up. Ancient secrets started moving. Forgotten forces opened their eyes. And none of the people standing inside the medical chamber had any idea what they had just started. All they knew was one impossible fact. A dying dragon baby had ignored every healer in the galaxy, and somehow it had chosen a human. The medical chamber remained silent after the golden flash. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The dragon hatchling was still lying beside Ethan's boot, but something had changed. A few moments earlier, the baby had been dying. Now the medical screen showed something impossible. Its heartbeat was rising. Slowly, steadily, the alarms that had filled the room began shutting off one by one. Doctors rushed toward their monitors. Some checked the dragon. Others checked the machines. A few checked the human standing near the door. Nothing made sense. Dr. Varel stared at the readings. His hands were shaking. "This is impossible." One scientist looked at him. "What happened?" Varel pointed at the screen. "The infection is disappearing." The room froze. "What?" "The sickness is fading." Nobody believed him. They checked the scans themselves. The results were real. The disease that had resisted every treatment in the galaxy was suddenly retreating. Not slowly, not partially. It was disappearing completely. Every doctor in the room had the same question. How? Their eyes turned toward Ethan. The human looked uncomfortable. "I didn't do anything." Nobody answered, because the evidence suggested otherwise. The hatchling suddenly opened its eyes. The room became quiet again. This time the dragon looked stronger. Its breathing was steady. Its eyes were brighter. Slowly, it lifted its head. Then it looked directly at Ethan. The tiny dragon made a soft sound, almost like a happy sigh. To everyone's surprise, it moved closer and rested its head against Ethan's boot. The reaction was immediate. The dragon's heartbeat became even stronger. More energy spread through its body. Golden lines briefly appeared beneath its scales. The doctors watched in shock. The hatchling was healing whenever it stayed close to Ethan. It made no sense. Humans were not dragon healers. Humans possessed no known dragon magic. There should be no connection. Yet the proof stood right in front of them. Dr. Varel made a decision. Bring the human here. Within minutes, Ethan found himself sitting inside a private examination room. Scientists surrounded him. Medical scanners floated around his body. Questions came from every direction. What is your family history? Have you ever met dragons before? Have you visited the dragon worlds? Do you possess any genetic modifications? Ethan answered honestly. No, 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 no. His answers only created more confusion. Everything about him appeared completely normal. He was a human security officer. Nothing more. Or so everyone thought. Hours passed. The dragon continued recovering. Meanwhile, researchers scanned every part of Ethan's body. Finally, one young scientist suddenly stood up. Her face had turned pale. I found something. Every person in the room looked at her. What is it? She swallowed nervously. There's a marker inside his DNA. The room became silent. Dr. Varel stepped closer. What kind of marker? I don't know. She displayed the results on a large screen. Complex symbols appeared. Ancient symbols. Several dragon elders immediately recognized them. Their faces lost color. One elder slowly stood. That symbol? His voice trembled. It can't be. The scientist looked confused. What does it mean? The old dragon elder stared at Ethan. Then he whispered words nobody expected. That symbol belongs to the First Guardians. The room exploded with questions. The First Guardians? Who are they? Are they real? The elder remained silent for several seconds. Then he slowly sat down. We believe they were only a legend. The room listened carefully. Thousands of years ago, according to ancient dragon stories, a mysterious group protected dragon civilization during its darkest age. Nobody knew where they came from. Nobody knew where they went. The dragons called them the First Guardians, ancient heroes, ancient allies, ancient protectors. The strange part was what the stories said about their appearance. They looked exactly like humans. The room fell silent. Every eye turned toward Ethan again. He stared back in confusion. You're saying humans were connected to dragons? The elder nodded slowly. Long ago. But that's impossible. Perhaps. The elder looked toward the recovering hatchling. Yet impossible things continue happening today. Before anyone could continue the discussion, an emergency signal suddenly echoed through the station. Warning lights flashed. Red alarms filled the hallways. Everyone jumped to their feet. A security officer appeared on the main screen. His face looked terrified. We have a situation. What happened? Burrell asked. The officer swallowed. A fleet has entered the system. The room became silent. A fleet? Whose fleet? The officer hesitated. We don't know. That answer frightened everyone, because in this region of space, every major fleet was registered. Unknown fleets did not simply appear, especially not near one of the galaxy's most important medical stations. The main screen displayed a live image. Thousands of ships filled space. Dark ships, silent ships, ships carrying no identification. Nobody recognized them, yet somehow they felt familiar. The old dragon elder suddenly stood up. His eyes widened. His body began shaking. No! Everyone looked at him. The elder pointed at the screen. I know those ships. Fear filled his voice. A fear so deep that everyone immediately felt it. Dr. Varel frowned. Who are they? The elder's answer chilled the entire room. The Void Order. Several dragon elders gasped. One scientist looked confused. Who are they? The elder's face hardened. An enemy we hoped was extinct. Back in the medical chamber, the dragon hatchling suddenly woke up. It looked toward the station windows. Its golden eyes narrowed. The baby seemed afraid. Very afraid. Then something unexpected happened. The hatchling began glowing again. The same golden energy from earlier returned. Ancient patterns spread across its scales. But this time the symbols were stronger, brighter, older. Machines throughout the room started detecting massive energy levels. Scientists stared at the readings in disbelief. The dragon wasn't just healing. It was awakening. Somewhere deep inside its memory, something ancient was waking up, and whatever it was, it recognized the approaching fleet. At the same moment, aboard the largest ship of the unknown fleet, a tall figure stood before a massive observation window. The figure wore black armor covered in strange symbols. One officer approached carefully. My lord, The armored figure never looked away from the stars. Report. We have confirmed it. The figure became still. The dragon lives? Yes. And the human? The officer nodded. He has been found. For several seconds, silence filled the bridge. Then the armored figure slowly smiled. A cold smile. A dangerous smile. For thousands of years we searched. He looked toward Star Station Orion. And now they have finally revealed themselves. The officer lowered his head. What are your orders? The armored leader's eyes hardened. Prepare the fleet. The officer hesitated. My lord, if the legends are true... The figure interrupted him. They are true. Fear appeared on the officer's face. The leader turned back toward the stars. His voice became quiet, almost like a warning. The dragon has awakened. He paused. And the human has returned. Far away on the station, nobody knew that an ancient enemy was already moving toward them. Nobody knew a war that had slept for thousands of years was beginning to wake. And nobody knew that the tiny dragon sleeping beside Ethan's chair carried a secret powerful enough to change the entire galaxy. The entire station was on lockdown. Red warning lights flashed through every hallway. Security teams rushed to their positions. Scientists abandoned their laboratories. Doctors hurried to protect important patients. Outside the station, thousands of unknown warships remained perfectly still, waiting, watching. The silence was somehow more frightening than an attack. Inside the medical wing, Ethan stood beside the dragon hatchling. The tiny creature had fallen asleep again, but something was different. Golden light continued glowing beneath its scales, not bright enough to hurt the eyes, just enough to remind everyone that something strange was happening. Dr. Varel watched the sleeping dragon carefully. Have you ever seen anything like this? Ethan asked. The old healer slowly shook his head. No. The answer worried Ethan. Varel had spent over 200 years studying dragons. If even he had never seen this before, then nobody had. Suddenly one of the monitoring screens flashed. A scientist looked up. Doctor, everyone turned. The dragon's brain activity is increasing. Varel moved quickly toward the screen. The readings were unusual. The hatchling was asleep, yet its mind was more active than ever before. The numbers continued rising. Higher, higher, and higher. Then every screen in the room suddenly changed. Images appeared. Moving images. Ancient images. The room filled with gasps. Nobody understood what they were seeing. Mountains, cities, dragons flying across golden skies, massive castles built on floating islands. The images looked thousands of years old. What is this? Ethan asked. The scientist stared at the data. I think. She swallowed. I think we're seeing the dragon's memories. The room froze. Dragon memories? That should have been impossible. The hatchling was only a few months old. It shouldn't have ancient memories. Yet the images continued. Everyone watched in silence. A giant dragon city appeared on the screens. Millions of dragons filled the skies. The civilization looked powerful, beautiful, ancient. Then something strange appeared. Figures walking among the dragons. At first, nobody understood what they were. Then the image became clearer. Humans. The room became silent. Hundreds of humans stood beside dragons, working together, talking, laughing, flying on dragon backs. The ancient memories showed humans and dragons living side by side, not as enemies, not as strangers, as friends, as allies. The dragon elder who had spoken earlier slowly sat down. His face had turned pale. The stories were true. Nobody answered, because everyone was staring at the impossible images. For thousands of years, the galaxy believed humans and dragons had little history together. Now, proof appeared directly in front of them. The memories continued. A young human warrior appeared. He stood beside a giant golden dragon. Both looked toward a distant battlefield. The image froze briefly. Then every monitor displayed a strange symbol. The same symbol found inside Ethan's DNA. Dr. Varel stared at it. That's impossible. The human warrior looked familiar, very familiar, not identical, but close enough to make everyone uncomfortable. The warrior looked like Ethan. The same eyes, the same face shape, the same features, almost like an ancestor, or perhaps something even stranger. Then the memory suddenly changed. The peaceful city disappeared. Darkness covered the sky. Fires burned everywhere. Dragons screamed. Buildings collapsed. The ancient city was under attack. Thousands of black ships descended from the clouds. The same ships now surrounding the station. The same symbol displayed on their hulls. The Void Order. They were there, whispered the Dragon Elder. They started the war. The memory became chaotic. Dragons fought desperately. Humans fought beside them. The battle looked hopeless. Then a giant shadow appeared. Something enormous. Something terrifying. Even the memory recording struggled to show its true form. The creature was larger than mountains. Its body seemed made from darkness itself. Many people in the room felt fear simply by looking at it. One scientist stepped back. "What is that thing?" Nobody answered, not even the Dragon Elders. The memory suddenly began breaking apart. Static covered the screens. The images became unstable. Then one final message appeared. Ancient dragon writing. Translation software immediately activated. Everyone watched as the words appeared. Warning: the devourer will return. Protect the last bloodline. Find the guardian. Then every screen went black. Silence filled the room. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The message remained burned into their minds. Protect the last bloodline. Find the guardian. Slowly, everyone's eyes turned toward two individuals, the dragon hatchling and Ethan. The room suddenly felt much smaller. A scientist broke the silence. What if the bloodline means a hatchling? Nobody disagreed. It seemed obvious. The dragon was clearly important. Then another scientist spoke. And what about the guardian? Nobody answered immediately, because everyone already suspected the truth. Their eyes stayed on Ethan. The human crossed his arms. "I don't like where this conversation is going." Dr. Varel sighed. "Neither do I." Before anyone could continue, another alarm sounded. A different alarm. Much louder. Much more urgent. A security officer appeared on the central screen. His face was pale. "We have incoming transmission requests." "From who?" Varel asked. The officer hesitated. "The enemy fleet." The room immediately became tense. Nobody expected communication. Everyone expected an attack. Varel nodded slowly. "Put it through." A large holographic screen activated. Static flickered across its surface. Then an image appeared. A tall, armored figure stood before them. Black armor covered his entire body. Ancient symbols glowed across the metal. His face remained hidden, yet his presence alone felt dangerous. The room became silent. The figure looked directly at them, almost as if he could see every person individually. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, cold, controlled. "We know the hatchling is alive." Nobody responded. The figure continued. "We also know the guardian has awakened." Ethan felt every eye in the room move toward him. The armored figure smiled. Apparently he noticed it too. "Interesting." Dr. Varel stepped forward. "Who are you?" The figure ignored the question. Instead, he looked directly at Ethan. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then the figure finally said something that shocked everyone. "You look exactly like him." Ethan frowned. "Like who?" The armored figure remained silent. Then he answered, "The man who almost destroyed us." The room froze. "Destroyed us?" The figure slowly walked closer to the camera. "Thousands of years ago, your ancestor led the Guardians." He paused. "And he nearly ended our order forever." Nobody knew what to say. The figure's voice became darker, but he failed. Outside the station, thousands of enemy ships suddenly powered their weapons. The station sensors immediately detected the change. Panic spread through command centers. Security teams prepared for battle. The figure noticed the growing fear. Then he delivered his warning. "Surrender the hatchling." Nobody moved. "Surrender the guardian." Still nobody moved. The armored figure's voice became ice cold. "Or this station will become your tomb." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Silence returned. But it did not last long, because outside the station, thousands of enemy weapons were charging. And deep inside the sleeping dragon's mind, another ancient memory was beginning to awaken, a memory that could reveal why the Void Order feared humans so much, and why they would destroy entire worlds to stop the bond between one dragon and one human. The station shook violently. Warning alarms screamed through every hallway. Outside, thousands of enemy weapons pointed directly at Star Station Orion. Inside the command center, fear spread quickly. Nobody expected the Void Order to reveal itself, and nobody expected them to arrive with an entire fleet. Dr. Varel stood beside Ethan. Neither man spoke. The threat was clear. Surrender the dragon. Surrender the guardian. Or die. Across the room, military officers argue with station leaders. We can't fight that fleet. They outnumber us. We need reinforcements. From where? No one had an answer. The nearest military fleet was weeks away. The station might not survive another hour. Meanwhile, the dragon hatchling remained asleep. Golden light still flowed beneath its scales. It looked peaceful, completely unaware of the danger surrounding it. Then suddenly the dragon moved. Its body twitched. The medical monitors activated. Brain activity surged again. Scientists rushed toward the screens. It's happening again. The memories are returning. Everyone turned toward the displays. The screens flickered. Ancient images appeared once more. This time the memories were clearer, stronger, more detailed, and far more disturbing. The room watched as an ancient battlefield filled the screens. Thousands of dragons filled the sky. Fire covered entire continents. Cities burned. Warships crashed from orbit. The galaxy had never seen destruction on this scale. This wasn't a war, whispered one scientist. This was extinction. The memory moved closer. Ancient dragons fought desperately against endless black fleets. The symbol of the Void Order appeared everywhere. On ships, on weapons, on armor. The enemy seemed unstoppable. Then a new figure entered the memory. A human. The same human from the earlier vision. The one who resembled Ethan. He stood on top of a ruined mountain. Around him stood dozens of dragons. Huge dragons. Ancient dragons. Royal dragons. Every single one followed the commands. The room fell silent. The human wasn't serving the dragons. The dragons were serving beside him, as equals, as allies, as brothers in war. Dr. Varel stared in disbelief. No wonder the Void Order fears humans. The memory continued. The human warrior raised his hand. Golden energy exploded across the battlefield. Thousands of dragons answered his call. Together they charged. The sky itself seemed to shake. The enemy fleets began falling, one after another. Entire armies vanished beneath dragon fire. The battle turned instantly. For the first time, the Void Order retreated. The room watched in shock. The ancient human had changed the war, not because he was stronger, but because he united the dragons. One dragon elder slowly lowered his head. Our legend spoke of this. Everyone looked toward him. The elder's eyes remained fixed on the memory. We called them soul guardians. Soul guardians? Ethan asked. The elder nodded. The only humans capable of bonding with dragon bloodlines. The room became quiet. Nobody interrupted. The elder continued. When a soul guardian appeared, dragons followed. Why? The old dragon hesitated. Then he gave an answer that surprised everyone. Because dragons trusted them more than they trusted themselves. The room froze. That level of trust sounded impossible. Yet the evidence stood before them. The dying hatchling had ignored every healer, ignored every dragon elder, ignored everyone, and crawled directly toward Ethan. Suddenly another image appeared. The battlefield disappeared. A giant underground chamber replaced it. Ancient dragons surrounded a glowing crystal. The human warrior stood beside them. Everyone seemed worried, afraid. One dragon stepped forward. Its scales were pure gold, larger than any dragon the galaxy had ever recorded. The Dragon King. Even in memory form, his presence felt overwhelming. The giant dragon spoke. Ancient translation systems struggled to keep up. Finally, the words appeared. The devourer cannot be destroyed. The room became silent. The devourer, the same name from the warning message. The Dragon King continued. We can only delay its return. The human warrior nodded. Then he asked a question. How long? The answer chilled everyone. Thousands of years. The memory shifted again. The Dragon King looked toward the human. Then he revealed something shocking. When the devourer returns, he paused. The sole guardian bloodline must survive. The human looked confused. Why me? The Dragon King's answer echoed through the medical chamber. Because only humans can awaken the last bloodline. Every person in the room slowly turned toward Ethan. The message was becoming clear. Too clear. The dragon hatchling wasn't just important. It was the last bloodline. And Ethan wasn't just a security officer. He was connected to the ancient soul guardians. The memories suddenly began breaking apart. Static filled the screens. The image became unstable. Then one final scene appeared. A hidden location, deep underground, far beneath a mountain. A giant metal vault. Ancient symbols covered its surface. The Dragon King pointed toward it. Protect the heart vault. The memory ended instantly. Every screen went black. The room became silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The words echoed inside everyone's mind. Protect the heart vault. What is the heart vault? Ethan finally asked. Nobody knew. The dragon elders exchanged worried looks. Then one elder slowly spoke. I've heard stories. Everyone turned toward him. His face looked pale. Ancient stories. What kind of stories? The elder swallowed. The heart vault was said to contain something powerful enough to save the galaxy. The room waited, and powerful enough to destroy it. Before anyone could ask another question, a new warning appeared. A military officer rushed into the room. His face was filled with panic. Enemy ships are moving. Everyone stood up. How many? All of them. The room froze. Outside the station, thousands of Void Order warships finally broke formation. The attack had begun. Massive engines ignited. Dark ships advanced toward the station. Weapon systems powered up. Energy readings filled every sensor. Inside the command center, fear spread rapidly. They couldn't win. Everyone knew it. The station simply didn't have enough defenses. Then something unexpected happened. The dragon hatchling suddenly opened its eyes. Golden light exploded across the room. The baby slowly stood. For the first time since arriving at the station, it was no longer weak. It was no longer dying. The tiny dragon looked directly at Ethan. Then it spoke, not with words, not with sounds, but inside his mind. The message was clear. The message was real. Find the heart vault. Ethan staggered backward. His heart raced. The dragon had spoken directly into his thoughts. Nobody else seemed to hear it. Only him. Then another message followed. A message that made his blood run cold. They are not afraid of me. The hatchling's golden eyes narrowed. They are afraid of what is sleeping beneath the galaxy. Outside the station, the enemy fleet continued advancing. Inside the medical chamber, Ethan realized something terrifying. The Void Order had not come to kill the dragon. They had not come to destroy the station. They had come to stop something much bigger. Something hidden. Something ancient. Something that was already beginning to wake up. The dragon's words echoed inside Ethan's mind. Find the heart vault. For several seconds, he could not move. The tiny hatchling stood before him, its golden eyes glowing brighter than ever. No one else seemed to notice what had happened. The doctors were busy watching the approaching enemy fleet. The scientists were studying energy readings. Nobody knew the dragon had just spoken. Yet Ethan knew it was real. The voice had not sounded like a dream. It had sounded ancient, wise, and afraid. Outside the station, the Void Order fleet continued moving closer. Thousands of dark warships filled the stars. The attack could begin at any moment. Inside the command center, military officers prepared for the worst. Defense systems activated. Emergency shields powered up. Evacuation routes were created. Everyone expected a battle. Everyone except the dragon. The hatchling remained calm, almost as if it already knew what would happen next. Ethan slowly knelt beside it. What is the heart vault? He whispered. The dragon looked directly into his eyes. Then another vision exploded inside his mind. Suddenly, Ethan was no longer inside the medical chamber. He stood somewhere else. A strange place, an ancient place. Massive mountains surrounded him. Golden clouds drifted through the sky. In the distance stood a gigantic stone structure, larger than any city. The structure looked like a mountain itself. Ancient symbols covered its walls. At the center of the structure stood a giant circular door, the same door from the memory, the heart vault. Then Ethan noticed something else. A figure standing beside the door. A human, the ancient warrior, the soul guardian, the man who looked so much like him. The warrior turned slowly. His eyes met Ethan's. For a moment neither spoke. Then the ancient human smiled. "You finally arrived." Ethan stared. "Who are you?" The warrior's smile faded. "I am the first guardian." The answer sent chills through Ethan's body. The first guardian. The leader from the memories. The hero who fought beside dragons. The man the void order feared. The ancient warrior looked toward the giant vault. "Time is running out." Ethan followed his gaze. "What is inside?" The guardian became silent. For several seconds, he simply stared at the door. Then he answered, "Hope." Ethan frowned. "Only hope?" The warrior shook his head. "And a terrible danger." The mountain suddenly began shaking. The sky darkened. A deep roar echoed across the vision, a roar so powerful that Ethan felt in his bones. The guardian looked upward, his face filled with concern. "It's waking up." The vision shattered instantly. Ethan found himself back inside the medical chamber. His breathing was heavy. Sweat covered his forehead. The dragon watched him quietly. The hatchling seemed to understand exactly what he had seen. Before Ethan could speak, a loud explosion shook the station. Everyone stumbled. Warning alarms screamed. A security officer rushed into the room. "The enemy fleet has opened fire." Panic spread immediately. Another explosion followed. Then another. The station's shields flashed across the windows. Outside, bright energy beams crossed space. The battle had begun. Military commanders shouted orders. Defense cannons fired. Fighter ships launched from docking bays. The peaceful station instantly transformed into a battlefield. Dr. Varel grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to move the dragon." "Where?" "The safest location we have." Ethan looked toward the hatchling. The dragon immediately shook its head. "No," Ethan said. Varel blinked. "What?" "The dragon doesn't want to go." The old healer stared at him. "How do you know that?" Ethan hesitated, because explaining telepathic conversations with dragons sounded impossible. Before he could answer, the hatchling suddenly stepped forward. Golden energy spread beneath its feet. The room became silent. Then something incredible happened. A glowing map appeared in the air. Scientists gasped. The image showed a star system. Ancient symbols marked a single planet. The dragon pointed directly at it. Everyone stared. The dragon elder stepped closer. His eyes widened. "I know this place." The room immediately focused on him. "What is it?" The old dragon looked shocked. "According to legend..." He paused. "This is where the heart vault was hidden." The room exploded with questions. The dragon hatchling growled softly. Everyone became quiet again. Then the holographic map changed. New symbols appeared. A countdown began. No one understood it at first. Then one scientist's face turned pale. "Oh no." "What?" She looked at the others. "It's a timer." The room froze. "A timer for what?" The scientist swallowed. "I think..." Her voice trembled. "I think it's counting down to an awakening." The countdown continued ticking. Days, hours, minutes. The numbers were decreasing rapidly. Dr. Varel stared at the display. What awakens when it reaches 0? Nobody answered, because everyone feared the same possibility. The devourer, the creature from the ancient memories, the monster even dragons could not destroy. Outside the station, another explosion rocked the structure. This one was stronger, much stronger. Warning lights turned red. A military officer appeared on the main screen. His face was covered in blood. "The outer defenses are gone." Fear swept across the room. The station would not survive much longer. The Void Order fleet was too powerful. Then suddenly every screen across the station changed. The image of the armored enemy leader appeared. His cold eyes stared directly at them. "You still have time." Nobody replied. The leader continued. "Give us a hatchling." Silence. "Give us a guardian." More silence. The leader sighed. Then he revealed something unexpected. "We are not your enemy." The room erupted with disbelief. Outside, his fleet was literally destroying the station. Yet he claimed they weren't enemies. Dr. Varel stepped forward. "Then why attack us?" The armored figure looked tired. For the first time, Ethan noticed sadness in his voice. "Because you do not understand what is coming." The room became quiet. The leader continued. "The devourer cannot be stopped." The dragon hatchling growled immediately. Golden energy flashed around its body. The leader noticed. "And there's the lie your bloodline continues to believe." The room froze. "What lie?" Ethan asked. The leader looked directly at him. "The lie that the heart vault is a weapon." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "If it isn't a weapon, then what is it?" The enemy leader remained silent for several seconds. When he finally answered, every person in the room felt fear. "The heart vault is a prison." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The leader's voice became darker. The devourer was never destroyed. He pointed toward the holographic countdown. It was locked away. The room stared at the timer. The armored figure continued. "And when that countdown reaches 0, his voice dropped to a whisper. The prison opens." Silence filled the chamber. The dragon hatchling slowly lowered its head, almost as if it already knew. Outside, the battle continued. Inside, everyone realized the truth. The galaxy was not facing a war. The war was only the beginning. Something far older was coming. Something that had waited thousands of years in darkness. And the countdown had already begun. The room was completely silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The enemy leader's final words echoed through every mind. "The heart vault is a prison." The countdown continued ticking above the holographic map. Days, hours, minutes. Each second felt heavier than the last. For thousands of years, the galaxy had believed the heart vault contained a weapon, a secret powerful enough to save civilization. Now they had learned the truth. It was not protecting something. It was imprisoning something. And that prison was failing. Outside the station, the battle continued. Energy beams crossed the darkness of space. Explosions lit the stars. The station's shields weakened with every passing minute. Inside the medical chamber, Ethan stared at the countdown. His mind raced. The ancient guardian had called the vault hope. The Void Order called it prison. One of them was lying. Or perhaps both were telling only part of the truth. The dragon hatchling suddenly stepped closer. Its golden eyes focused on Ethan. Then the familiar voice returned inside his head. "He speaks truth." Ethan froze. The dragon had heard everything. "The heart vault is a prison." A chill ran down his spine. "Then why must we find it?" Ethan whispered. The hatchling lowered its head. For the first time, sadness appeared in its eyes. Because the prison cannot remain closed forever. Before Ethan could ask another question, another vision exploded inside his mind. The world vanished. Darkness surrounded him. Then stars appeared. Billions of stars. Entire galaxies stretched before him. He felt small, tiny, insignificant. And then he saw it. A shadow. At first it looked like a cloud. Then he realized its true size. The thing was larger than planets. Larger than star systems. Its body moved through space like living darkness. Entire worlds disappeared wherever it passed. Stars died. Civilizations vanished. Nothing could stop it. Nothing could fight it. The devourer. Ethan suddenly understood why dragons feared it. This wasn't a monster. This was a disaster. A force of nature. A living extinction. Then another image appeared. Ancient dragons gathering around the creature. Thousands of them. Millions. Beside them stood humans. The Soul Guardians. Together they fought. Not to kill the devourer, but to trap it. The battle lasted years. Entire star systems were sacrificed. Countless lives were lost. Finally they succeeded. The devourer was sealed inside the heart vault. But the prison came with a cost. A terrible cost. One dragon bloodline would spend generations maintaining the seal, and one human bloodline would remain connected to them forever. The last bloodline, the sole guardians. The vision ended. Ethan opened his eyes. His heart pounded. Now he understood everything. The dragon hatchling was not simply a survivor. It was the latest guardian of the prison. And Ethan was the latest guardian. They were never supposed to meet by accident. This had been planned thousands of years ago. Suddenly the station shook violently. A massive explosion rocked the entire structure. People fell to the floor. Warning alarms screamed. The main screen activated. A military officer appeared. His face was pale with fear. The shields are gone. The room froze. Gone. The station had no protection left. Outside, the Void Order fleet prepared its final attack. Dr. Varel looked at Ethan. What do we do now? Before Ethan could answer, the dragon hatchling stepped forward. Golden light exploded across the chamber. Everyone covered their eyes. The energy grew stronger, brighter, hotter. The tiny dragon began changing. Its scales glowed like molten gold. Ancient symbols spread across its body. Its wings expanded. Its claws lengthened. The transformation lasted only seconds. When the light finally faded, gasps filled the room. The hatchling was bigger, much bigger, still young, still not fully grown, but no longer a helpless baby. The dragon raised its head. Power rolled from its body like a storm. The dragon elder dropped to one knee. So did the others. Even Dr. Varel lowered his head. Ethan looked around in confusion. What are they doing? The oldest dragon elder answered. His voice trembled. The royal bloodline has awakened. The newly transformed dragon turned toward Ethan. Its eyes shined like stars. Then, for the first time, it spoke aloud, not through thoughts, not through telepathy, with its actual voice. The entire room became silent. Its voice sounded young, yet ancient at the same time. The time has come. Every person listened. The heart vault must be opened. Fear spread immediately. Open it? That would release the devourer, wouldn't it? The dragon seemed to read their thoughts. It is already escaping. The room became silent again. The countdown above the map suddenly changed. The remaining time disappeared. In its place appeared a new message. Seal integrity, 12%. People stared in horror. Only 12% remained. The prison was collapsing. The dragon looked at Ethan. We must go now. Outside the station, enemy ships continued surrounding them. The Void Order would never allow them to leave. Yet before anyone could point that out, every screen activated again. The armored leader appeared. This time his face was visible, an old face, tired, worn by centuries of responsibility. Not the face of a villain, the face of a man carrying a burden. His eyes met Ethan's. Then he looked at the dragon. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, the old leader sighed. So it has awakened. The dragon nodded. The two seemed to understand each other. Dr. Varel frowned. You know each other? The old leader answered. No. He looked toward the dragon. But our ancestors did. The room listened carefully. The old man continued. The Void Order was never created to destroy dragons. Everyone froze. What? His eyes filled with regret. We were created to guard the prison. The revelation hit like a bomb. Nobody knew what to say. For thousands of years, they believed the Void Order were enemies. Now everything was changing again. The old leader lowered his head. Our founders believed the seal would eventually fail. He looked at Ethan. They created us to prepare for that day. Then he looked at the dragon. The day has arrived. Outside the station, the enemy fleet suddenly stopped firing. Every weapon powered down. The battle ended. Just like that, the old leader took a deep breath. Then he gave an order that shocked everyone. Clear a path. Behind him, thousands of Void Order ships immediately moved aside. A corridor opened through the fleet. A direct route to freedom. The old leader looked at Ethan one final time. Go to the heart vault. His voice became heavy. Before the devourer wakes. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Outside, A path now stretched across the stars, leading toward an ancient world, leading toward the Heart Vault, leading toward the final truth. As Ethan looked at the glowing dragon beside him, he realized their journey was only beginning. The dying dragon baby that had crawled across a medical floor was gone. In its place stood the last heir of an ancient bloodline. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something enormous had already opened its eyes.